Fighting propaganda means fighting mental laziness. Randall Marlin. Hi, I'm Aniki Nippon. To start off with, I'm sorry I didn't make any YouTube videos lately. I've been concerned about my family in Japan, so it's been kind of difficult to kind of make a video and try to put my thoughts when my thoughts are kind of jumbled with this incident occurring in Japan. So, with that said, let's roll. Diana Boston made a video and she was backing up what Nuclear Night was claiming, that the use of the word rape should be able to be used freely and frivolously because, after all, on Google you can find 12 million hits that relate rape to environmental action. Therefore, it should be correctly applied in that manner because rape is an elusive word that we shouldn't be able to describe anything that's atrocious in our minds. The single failure here is what's right isn't always popular, and what's popular isn't always right. After all, for years and years and years, people have said that the 6 million figure for the Jews getting murdered in the Holocaust was accurate. But nowadays, most historians agree that it's probably closer to 3.4. That's not a small number either. If you say that the number's off by, 3 million, you might want to reconsider your position as an academic, especially if you didn't catch it the first time. My point is this: just because somebody says something doesn't make it true, doesn't make it correct, and it doesn't make it objectively right. What if a CEO were to lie on their tax forms and say, well, this shipment's only worth $100,000 when indeed it was worth $400,000? You can avoid a heck of a lot of taxes with that kind of shipment, couldn't you? And that is not a minor error. That's something that you would not do on a tax form. And if a company were caught doing that, you would be facing federal prosecution. When somebody like Nuclear Night makes the claim that the flesh pots of Southeast Asia are caused by the United States and no mention of the history of prostitution in Southeast Asia. Hell, Japan had prostitutes, China had prostitutes, Thailand had prostitutes, Philippines had prostitutes. Every other country had prostitutes in the region before the Japanese actually forcefully made prostitutes in Manchuria, current day Korea and China. There's a huge difference between indigenous people being forced to have sex against their will. That would be considered rape. That kind of prostitution, in my eyes, is illegal and it's morally wrong. And that's what was going on in Manchuria. Not this kind of thing that was going on for hundreds of years where women were actually in business for themselves and paying taxes themselves and being responsible for their own bodies. But to confuse the two is a grave misapprehension. And it's a grave misunderstanding, and I think you need to hit the books once again, Nuclear Night. But of course a woman bent on making the point that prostitution should be illegal because it's always against a woman's will. A woman never wants to actually have sex and get paid for it. Whenever somebody's bent on making that point, I guess there's no hope whatsoever for changing their minds. But again, to confuse the two is a grave misunderstanding, and they have no facts that are based on reality as it exists today. So, Nuclear Nut, let me ask you something. What system of oppression did any government, I don't care whether it's state or federal, in the United States approve of mass raping people or allowing prostitution to be legal as a U.S. foreign policy? Can't name it? Probably because it doesn't exist, and you really don't know what you're talking about. Now, this whole idea that the United States should be the world police comes from a time when America had imperialist sentiments. But I couldn't call the United States of America an imperialist nation today. The reason why is because we don't conquer the nations that we actually invade. We let the people do their own job. Besides, economically speaking, it's more beneficial for the Iraqi people to be in control of their own oil and their own resources versus some tyrannical dictator that runs their land. Section out portions of society and say, blanketly say that every single man or any single person is a rapist is a grave insult to our humanity. What if I were to say that all black people were racist? What would you say about me? Of course it's not true. You wouldn't dare say such a stupid thing, but because it's men, you're okay with getting away with it. Well, I'm sorry, but women can sexually abuse. According to the peer-reviewed scientific studies that they've conducted, they can equally be responsible for domestic violence, or sometimes even more when it comes to initiating the violence to begin with. And what do we see on Oprah? They show this program where there's 200 men who have been essentially raped. These 200 men, not a single example of a woman committing the act against another man. Statistics don't lie. And those statistics say that women are equally as likely to rape men, sexually abuse men. But where do you see that on the Oprah show? None. Not a single example. This is disgusting. And people like you perpetuate the notion that women are sugar and spice and everything nice. Well, what if I were to say that all women were rapists? Number one, I would be incorrect. Number two, I would be wrong in saying so, to blanketly cover women as being rapists. After all, the sexual deviants of society are only about 0.1% of all citizens in the United States. That's not a whole lot of people. Sexual deviants, people who abuse others, only make a small fraction of society. Therefore, I will say that the majority of the people are good in our society. And to blanketly say that, 50% of our population is something that we need to look out for because they might potentially be these horrible, horrible people, is a grave disgrace to our humanity and an insult to our intellect. I'm Aniki Nippon, and have a good day.
Let's make this very clear. Rape is not a sense or an attitude or an idea. Rape is not sexy, and rape is not sex. It's a crime. Rape is not a word you can just throw in to automatically win an argument.